Ladies and gentlemen, life can be very, very tough. Maybe it's not right now, maybe it was in the past, or maybe you are going through something that you are finding exceedingly difficult to deal with in your day-to-day life. Because the chances are that sometime in this existence that we lead on a rock that's floating through space at speeds we cannot comprehend, there are things that we encounter that often we very much struggle to deal with. Times that you ask these questions to yourself. Why is my luck so bad? Should I give up? Why is this always happening to me? What do I do? Why does no one care? And so many more questions that come into our mind. Will it ever get better? That's also a question that a lot of people ask themselves. A lot of these problems are physical, financial, or perhaps now more than ever, mental. And for a lot of people, it's an unusual, unnecessary, and unfortunate amalgamation of all three. Every single person watching this will go through something that we call mental illness. Maybe it won't happen in 2 months, 10 months, 2 years, 10 years. Maybe it happened 2 years ago, maybe it happened 10 years ago, or maybe right now it is that tough time. But I guarantee you that every single person will have some sort of mental illness along that spectrum. And it is a very wide spectrum. Let's remember that. That's just life. You see, mental illness, like any other illness, is an illness. It's much like the flu. We all catch it at some point. Sure, it's not going to spread like the flu, but we are inevitably going to encounter it at some point within our lives. But don't be scared of that word, mental illness. This is the whole point of this video, is to not be scared of that. Because right now, in my understanding, is the first time that we have seen such a sharp decline in the numbers that are associated with life expectancy in the Western world. Why? Because people are killing themselves, to put it bluntly. People are killing themselves more than they ever have in recent history. What a thought to think that in a world where technology is so amazing, and we have such easy lives we lead, the vast majority of us, and yet people are still sad. People are still freaking out. People are still upset. Why? People are killing themselves at rates that should terrify everyone, and that's why I've made this video today, to really have a look at that, see what people can do, and try and analyze what's happening with my brain that is not fucking scientifical at all, obviously, but to really try and wrap my head around what is happening within the world, because it's something that I've tasseled with myself as a mental illness, but also the idea, the concept that people are killing themselves more often than they used to. Why? That's the idea that I cannot comprehend within my mind. This video isn't just important now, it might be important in 5 years, 10 months, 4 months, 3 months, to somebody who's trying to work out what the fuck's going on in their mind. Now, why me? Why am I the dude making this video? Well, because I've sat on both sides of the fence. I spent the vast majority of my first 23 years on this earth pretty happy. Going back, sure, I found some times that I encountered anxiety. I even had a whole term off school. But 2 years ago, I faced something, my biggest demon to date, that threatened my very existence. I had no worries in this world. I really didn't. I was just a young kid going through life, getting on the piss, enjoying themselves. And then I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, a panic disorder. And the reason I was diagnosed with that was because I was living every single day with constant freakouts, panic attacks, a constant state of this high intensity emotion of being scared. Your body tensing up, your heart rate going, sweating, freaking out constantly. When you're sitting on the lounge at home trying to relax, you feel like there's a tiger trying to eat you right next to you. You can't relax. I went through a period of probably 6 months with all I wanted to do was go to sleep. Thankfully, I had YouTube to focus my time into, and I made a lot of videos during that time, but that was the only thing I was really putting out. And that's a confronting thing for someone to endure, particularly if they've never experienced something like that before. You may be wondering why this happened. Well, I've talked about this before. I've got a form of epilepsy that freaks people out when it happens. But what happens is basically I lose control of my head. I go blind, all that type of stuff. It's great fun. I don't lose consciousness, but since I've been diagnosed with that, it's always been something always in the back of my head that I worry about. Now, a year or two ago, I came off a ketogenic diet that was helping control the epilepsy symptoms. And when I came off that diet, I had one of these fits, or whatever you want to call them, in public. Now, all that happened was I was on the footy field, and it happened during the middle of a game, and I was very it was just embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. Then over time, I started to have little twinges, or I'd be scared about having one, and that's how the anxiety formed, and it got worse and worse and worse. It was definitely the toughest thing I've ever had to do. Absolutely. Like, I know I stand on here every single week. I put up 4 videos a week because I'm a fucking monster. You better subscribe immediately. But that's the toughest thing I've ever had to do, because it made me question everything about myself. I feared that my life would be over. I thought everything was wrong with me. I thought I was going to go crazy. I thought I'd be in the street screaming at pigeons. But thankfully it didn't, because I went out and I got help. And I'm not alone. 1 in 4 Australians will, at some point this year, get diagnosed with a mental health disorder. And that's every year. So it's something we're all going to encounter at some point. I don't say that to scare you or frighten you. I say that because it's the truth. And we should be willing to get help when we need it. Now, I want to sort of address why I think this happens to a lot of people, and why people get dealt with this card. I have a few sort of theories, and I'd like to go through them now. The first is environmental. Depending on your environment, where you grow up, where you live, where you go to school, where you work, this can have a dramatic effect on your mental health. It can make you feel sad, happy, excited, or terrified. A million different emotions can happen due to the people you encounter and the places in which you are in. Maybe your partner's a piece of shit. Maybe your parents are horrible. Maybe the people around you are pieces of shit. Maybe your boss, right? Maybe you've got this boss that thinks he's king shit because he manages some store or some bullshit like that doesn't actually matter in the world, and he treats you like shit every day, so you're upset every day, all right? And if you're a boss who does that, fuck you cocksucker. But also where you live. Are you living in a household where you eat a proper diet? Do you exercise? There's countless possibilities that can happen when it comes to the environment you live in. How you get those ducks in a row, I don't know, but it takes time. You always try and find the best possible outcome, and if you can do that for every single thing within your life, then maybe you have a better chance of dealing with the problems in your mind. Second theory, and I think this is very important, is meaning. You must have meaning in your life. You need a reason to get out of bed every day. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's your gym session in the afternoon. Maybe it's the things you want to achieve in 10 years or 10 months or 10 minutes. All those things add meaning to your life. And if you can't add meaning to your life, what is even better, particularly for your own mental health, is adding meaning to someone else's. Experience. For me, what happened to me was a PTSD style of event. Something traumatic happened to me, I was embarrassed and horrified about it, and then it played over and over and over and again in my mind, and that's how my problems started to happen. This can happen to a lot of different people. It can happen to people in war zones, right? There's a spectrum here. War zones up until some dude who's bearded and falls over on a footy field because of a medical event. There's a massive spectrum here. Your experience, what you encounter in life, can dictate how you feel. But of course, there's also a predisposition. A lot of people have this that runs in their family. And if you know that your mother, your father suffers from depression, or your grandparents, or your brother or your sister, then you need to make sure everything is in line. You're giving yourself the best chance to feel as good as possible. There's 1,000 other reasons of why people are fucked up, but that's just a couple. But here are some things I think you should do, in my opinion, not a doctor's, chill the fuck out, to try and counteract these problems. But number one is, if you are constantly, currently, or occasionally contemplating suicide, killing yourself, hurting yourself, doing anything like that, please, for fuck's sake, don't think you're weak. Don't think you're any less of a man or a woman or whatever. Go to the doctors tomorrow, okay? Call them up, get in there, get the help you need. Whether it's a mental health referral, they'll write you down, they'll say, listen, they'll sit you down rather, they'll write out, they'll say, listen, you need to go to a psychologist, and then you might need to see a psychiatrist if you need to get put on meds, and don't be freaking out if they're going to put you on meds. Like, sometimes it's just the magic bullet. Other times it's not. You need to do other things. But sometimes it will help in the short term. When they get you on those meds, it's not something you want to stay on forever. You want to get your ducks in a row and then slowly wean off them. But if you are contemplating hurting yourself, don't. There is a way out of this. You might not find it today, tomorrow, or a year, but you will find it. But don't be a fucking idiot either, okay? If something's not right, you go to the doctors, right? If something's wrong with your kidneys, you go to the doctors, you get it sorted out. If something's wrong with your nose, you get it sorted out. If something's wrong with your brain, get it sorted out. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe you're just a bit off. Maybe you're just freaking out about things you didn't used to. Maybe you're just struggling to get out of bed in the morning. So here's a few other things that you can do. Diet is extremely important, all right? Number one, fuck off sugar. Get the sugar fuck off your life. Refined carbs, fuck them off. Meat and veggies and a little bit of fruit, all right? There you go. There's your diet. Don't eat anything more. Don't do it. My big problem and why I put on a lot of weight while I was feeling extremely anxious was emotional eating, right? So I'd eat something and it'd make me feel calm. When I wasn't eating, if I was watching TV or doing whatever, if I wasn't eating, I was sort of panicking. So I'd eat to be calm, and that's how I put on, 5 or 6 kilos. Not to mention being on tour and drinking too much puss. I'm a keto boy again, hooray. Exercise, train your heart out. You probably heard it a million times, but go and join a gym, all right? I know it's scary. Go and join, what I did, right? When I was feeling like this, I went and joined a local MMA gym here in Newcastle. And the people there have become my family. I love it there, honestly. And being away on tour at the moment, I can't go as much, and it's fucking doing my head in. But doing something like that, where you're learning a new skill, you're freaking out, you feel scared, you're worried about different things, you're trying to improve every single day that you go, that is so good for you. Not only does it get rid of that anxiety out of your body for whether it's an hour, whether it's 2 hours, whether it's the rest of the day, it will help, okay? Get out there, do stuff, lift weights, walk in nature, be apart, and realize that the worries that you have in the world don't actually matter. Because they definitely don't matter when you're hitting a heavy bag for 5 rounds and you're fucked, all right? They don't matter, the worries you have, the anxieties you have, the depression you have. It doesn't matter then. All you're worried about is not dying right there. Last but not least, is sleep. Now, people say how important sleep is, all right? They say it all the fucking time. Listen, you need to sleep. You need to get this much sleep. Sleep. And you go, mate, I spend 6 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours in bed. I sleep, all right, but I still feel shit. That's why I bought this thing, okay? This is an Aura ring. They are not a sponsor. I spent way too much money on this, but I did it for a reason. Because I wanted to see how much I was actually sleeping, and this is a sleep tracking ring. It also tracks your heart rate variability to see how your recovery's going, your resting heart rate, and a lot of other things. It's really, really cool. It's also a pedometer. Hooray. But what I started to learn was that my REM sleep was awful, the rapid eye movement sleep, and that and the deep sleep, and combined together is way too low. I'm not getting the recovery that I need, so my brain is not recovering to the point where it's so low that one night when I first tried it out, now given I was recovering from a trip over to Europe, but I had 21 minutes of REM sleep. How the fuck is my brain recovering if I'm dealing with 21 minutes of recovery time? It's not. Life to many of us can seem like a dull, daunting and horrifying place, and many times you can seem like you get stuck in the very catacombs that are your mind, but it is so important right now more than ever to go out and get help. If you need it, do it. I speak to so many people who have watched these videos that I make, and they go out and they get help and they turn their lives around. So please, from me to all the good motherfuckers out there, get it done. Anyway, peace in the Middle East, be dick stinks, I'll see you all next week. See you good motherfuckers. Jeez, you look good today, by the way. Did I mention that? Oh, yes.